Today I'd like to share with you one of our family favorite recipes, again from Abuelita, and it's palomilla. Palomilla is a steak preparation that was very popular when I was growing up, and Abuelita made it once a week sometimes, once every other week at least. And we start with the closest we can get to the way a Cuban butcher would cut up a cow. And we start with a piece of steak, which is a sirloin steak, relatively thin cut. It's not exactly the cut that Abuelita used, but again, Cuban butchers and American butchers kind of have different styles on cutting up a cow, I guess, to be blunt. And so this is as close as we can come to what you might find in a Cuban butcher shop. First thing I want to do is I cut this piece of meat in half, and I wrapped a cutting board with saran wrap or plastic wrap, and I put the piece of meat on the cutting board that's been covered in plastic, and I'm going to cover this meat with a little plastic. And then I have a mallet, old wooden mallet. This might have even belonged to Abuelita. Anyway, I'm going to tenderize the meat by just striking it with a mallet a little bit. I don't want to make hamburger out of it. Okay. Next piece. Same routine. Want to make sure that the meat is going to be relatively tender and ready to accept the marinade. Now, this will be marinated for at least 2 hours. Sometimes overnight. Okay, so there's the palomilla. Move that aside. As I said, this is a real easy recipe. Next thing we do is squeeze some lime juice over the meat. Can hardly have too much lime. I think I've said that before on some of the other recipes. The way Abuelita taught me how to cook, you used lime a lot. Lime and garlic. Olive oil, although you didn't fry in olive oil unless you were making yellow rice and chicken, where you sauteed the chicken in olive oil. All the rest of the time we use vegetable oil. Okay, so now I have lime juice, a pounded piece of sirloin steak. The next step is to sprinkle the steak with some garlic powder or fresh minced garlic. I like to take shortcuts, so I'm using granulated garlic. And after that, some oregano. Not a lot. It's not Italian style, but it's going to give a nice flavor when combined with the lime and the garlic. Pretty easy, pretty easy. Now I'll cover this with plastic and put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, as I said. Now I washed my favorite knife. The steak is in the refrigerator. And next is an important topping we'll use. I washed the knife, as I said, because I cut raw meat with it, and we don't want to have any contamination. Onions, lime, and parsley. Raw onions, lime, and parsley. That's a typical topping for palomilla. I sliced up most of that large onion. Now I'm going to just run the knife blade through the onion slices. There was a popular little Cuban restaurant I went to when I was younger in Miami, Ponce's, Pete's, and they just use slivered onion with lime and parsley. Abuelita usually diced or minced her onion. Okay, there's the onion. Lime is next. I double squeeze the lime. Get as much juice as is practical. Roughly one white or yellow onion and a couple of limes should do it. I'm going to go outside of the garden here and get some fresh parsley. Well, it took me a little longer than I had anticipated because I didn't have enough parsley in the garden. So I went around to the neighborhood grocery store and found some parsley. And here I'll give it a quick dice, probably more than I need. So now what you're going to find if you've never really made this before is that the parsley and lime mixture really tames the sharpness of the onion. So we'll throw that in there. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. I love parsley. Abuelita used to always eat the parsley that was presented as a garnish on any particular dish she might order. Even American dishes that she would order. If it came with a little garnish of parsley, she'd eat it, and I got used to eating it. So, like it by itself. I'm told a lot of vitamin C. By the way, you can use dried parsley, dehydrated parsley, if you don't have any fresh parsley. Obviously, I've used this before. If I don't feel like going out to get fresh. The fresh, I think, is better. It's a brighter flavor, cleaner flavor, and I'd always go fresh. But if I didn't have any, even dried parsley will rehydrate in the lime juice and be pretty good. Now you'll probably ask, what are you going to have with the palomilla besides the onion and parsley topping? Well, I usually serve a green salad, ensalada verde, bread. In this case, it's French bread from the local grocery store. It's pretty good. They don't have Cuban bread here in Louisiana. Well, I guess they do, but not in many, many places. Also, black beans and rice, which we addressed in another video. I love yuca. Either yuca frita, that's fried yuca, like French fries, or yuca with mojo, which is boiled yuca, and with a garlicky oil and onion lime sauce. Look at the spelling, Y-U-C-A, yuca. Sometimes people spell it Y-U-C-C-A. I've seen that in the grocery store. That's yucca, which is a desert plant from the Southwest. Yuca is what you want. And of course, plátanos. I like green plantains. I'm going to make plantain chips from this green plantain tonight. You could make tostones, the thicker twice fried plantains. You could even have ripe plantains if you wanted, but I prefer the green. Well, it's nearly supper time, and the palomilla has been sitting in lime juice and seasonings all day. You can probably see it turns a little gray. Means it's being chemically cooked, and should be pretty good. Also next to it, I've sliced up a green plantain and made, I'm going to make platanitos, little coins of green plantain. I'll fry those in vegetable oil, as I'll use vegetable oil also for the palomilla, and then salt them, eat them like French fries. Right now I'm preheating the large cast iron skillet in which I'll fry the palomilla. It'll be fried in a hot pan pretty quickly. It's almost like a flash frying. Also, something I wouldn't normally do, but I made a second batch of fries. These are yuca fries. Platanito. Well, it's time to put the meat in the pan. You see it's smoking, that vegetable oil smoking, so don't want to let it burn. So let that get a good hard sear, and then it'll be time to eat. Well, I turned it once, and it will soon be done. It's time to serve. And there's the palomilla, topped with some lime, onion, parsley topping. We have yuca fries, platanitos, high starch meal, a green salad, and some French bread. We don't have Cuban bread right here. And normally I would also serve black beans and rice. No self-respecting Cuban cook would ever turn his or her nose up to double or triple starches.